I'm going to just talk a bit until people join the live so that they don't lose anything important that you may say, but they can, whatever, what I'm saying is just like a small intro to you. I'm going to show the book. Is it the first edition, foreign edition that comes out of print?
Yes, first one.
Woohoo!
You guys even beat Croatia, which is my, native country, and that's the next one, but you guys beat them, so good for you.
I was so fast. The minute I saw your name in the email, I was like, yeah, we're going to have this book. Time for it. Yeah, you are so loved here. You have lots of fans. So I want to thank you for this. I mean, for me, is this amazing opportunity to be actually interacting with you and get to find out things directly from you. You have lots of followers here, and your book is already loved. A few hundred people already bought it and read it. So, and they keep writing to me. So welcome, Kristina.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you are from Croatia. You've been living in the US from when you were 14, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you have this amazing community. You do mostly video, but I know that you also write. And what I get from you is this vibe that we are all okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to feel bad, but you don't have to punish yourself because we are all imperfect and good to love. This is what I get from you.
Yes, because of what I went through when I was really depressed and just felt like such a failure and loser, and all just how horrible I felt about myself now inspires everything I do. I mean, I'm getting teary-eyed just now thinking about it. I never want another human being to feel so badly about themselves ever. And so I see my job as just trying to encourage and remind people that you're so much more wonderful than you tell yourself you are.
That's so true. And your book does exactly that.
Oh.
I mean, when I read it, editing it, the translation, it made me feel good with myself, even though I'm not perfect. I have 2 kids, and sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's also it's part of my life, and I try to enjoy every minute of it. So, and you're an inspiration for me. And people are saying hello. And I want to apologize for our delay. We had some technical issues. I couldn't hear Kristina at all, and we tried different platforms, and I was like just going crazy because this is my opportunity to be with you, and I could not hear it. It was hell for me. It was a struggle, but yeah, we'll overcome it together.
But that's life. Nothing ever happens the way we plan. It's just life. It's normal.
I'm gonna get drunk after this. I'm gonna go myself and oh my god, it's nerve-wracking. So I planned a few questions for you, but then we're gonna take questions from our viewers. I plan not to eat more than 1 hour of your time.
Oh.
I know you are busy, and I really appreciate the chance that we are all given to see you live here in our community, which is a great community of mothers who struggle, but also try to love themselves. I don't know how things are in Croatia, but we grew up with lots of conditional parenting, so lots of spanking and humiliating, both at home and in school, and we are not okay. We are trying to heal ourselves. It's a long process, and we try to do that together. This is our goal here.
That's great.
I'm just gonna state that the dialogue will be recorded and posted here, so you can watch it whenever you want. And we will download it and add subtitles. So if you don't understand English very well, you can also read the subtitles, but we'll add that later. You can write the questions in Romanian, and I will translate them for Kristina so that she can answer you, okay? So I'm going to start. Our first question for you is this: the thing everybody wants to know. How do you manage to look so good? I mean, you love food, right? Especially the fattening ones.
Yeah. Well, I'm in my 40s now. Once I got to my late 30s, I was like, oh no, I have to actually exercise. So now if I hate exercising, I hate it. So I try to at least dance. I just turn on my favorite music and just move as much as I can. I feel like it helps. But I'm really big on only eating things I really love. And thankfully I like some healthy food too. So I always think, like, if there's a big buffet of lots of chips and candies, like at a party or something, I always think, okay, is this just somebody that would be like a one date? And then the next morning I'd be like, why did I even go on a date with that, thing? It's not my type. I didn't even like it that much. Or is this the kind of food I want to marry? And I only eat the food I want to marry. But I feel like if you think that way, it eliminates just eating just to eat. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of desserts that are good, but are they marriage material? I'm not going to eat the dessert unless I want to marry it.
That's a good strategy.
It's
gonna sound weird to my kids.
It's a good way to shop too. Like, I think when I'm looking at clothes in a store and I'll go, is this just like a few dates and then I'll dump you? Or is this like I want to introduce you to my parents and have your children dress? That's the dress I'm buying.
You're so funny. I love you. Thank you. A side question. What do you use to curl your hair with you have these famous curls that are bouncy and elastic. And look, I have mine for full disclosure because I also curl my hair. It's not natural. I wish it was, but so I use it's a hair curler, ladies.
I use something very similar. It's 1 inch, I don't know how many centimeters. But the thing is, my hair is naturally curly. So, and not like this, like I fix it. But because it naturally is curly, it stays. So I'll wash it, do this, and then I barely touch it for like 3 days before I do it again. I feel like if you have straight hair, it won't hold it as well.
You are right. Thank you. So everybody's taking notes right now. How did you get to the place you are now? I mean, I've read your book. I know actually, you are the only person that I've ever talked to who knows Oprah. I don't even know somebody who knows Oprah. So you are huge. What happened? Was it a plan, a strategy?
No, I never planned on, I never could have imagined doing this with my life. It's crazy. But after my divorce, and then I got remarried, and for those of you that have read my book, you know that cooking for strangers saved my life because it made me feel like I had something to offer. It was the only thing I felt confident in, was cooking, when I felt like a total loser. And so after I got remarried, I decided to make these little cooking videos more as a hobby. I was a mom and I was a waitress, and I was not really I wasn't tapping into that creative side. And so I thought, I'll just make these little cooking videos. And then, long story again, it's in the book, but I got discovered by Oprah. I got my own cooking show. But what happened, and this was not Oprah's fault, is they made me perfect. I was the perfect mom in a perfect kitchen. And it literally hurt my heart because I just felt like the people that are still struggling the way I was struggling are going to watch this show, and they're just going to be intimidated. They're not going to get anything good out of it. And so years passed, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to make some videos to make people feel better. Started again as a hobby, didn't think anything of it, and it just blew up into something bigger than I ever expected.
Wow, it's like you were meant to be there and to do that. Miruna says, look, I'm going to put this on the screen for you. Kristina was one of the main sources of mental sanity after becoming a mother. So happy to see her. The book is amazing. So
thank you. How do you say it? Miruna? Is that how you say it?
Yes, Miruna.
Thank you, Miruna. That means a lot.
Okay, I'm going to move forward because there's lots of things we want to know about you. Okay, now this. Where do you get all because you're so energetical all the time and so fun and so full of great ideas. I'm sure you get tired sometimes. What do you do to get yourself up and running again?
I mean, this is going to sound so cheesy, but honestly, I get inspired and motivated by you guys. I'll have days where I'm just down, or I'm tired, or I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no new creative ideas. Like, I panic. What am I going to, I don't have any video ideas of nothing. And I start reading through messages I get on Instagram or through comments on Facebook, and somebody will just say something that touches my heart. Like somebody's struggling, somebody feels worthless, somebody thinks they're not a good enough parent or feels guilty. And all of a sudden my mind just goes, how can I help this person? What can I create that will make this person feel better? So that's where I get all my energy. I get really excited when I think I have an idea that might help somebody in some way.
I understand. I mean, I feel what you're saying, because sometimes it's the same for me. Sometimes it's selfish. I mean, I feel the need to write, but sometimes it's about others, and that really gives you strength. So I'm very happy you say that. Maybe we can inspire others to do the same.
And also, to be honest, I still struggle every day. I still think parenting is really hard. I still, have moments where I ask myself, oh, did I handle that right? And the answer a lot of times is nope, did not handle that right. So I still struggle. And sometimes when I find myself, whatever I'm struggling with, I always think, if I'm struggling with it, there's somebody out there who's struggling with the same thing. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, because we are actually kind of the same, right? No matter where we live and how we grew up and what we're dealing with and money and profession, and the human being is kind of the same everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's very refreshing to know that you're not alone in all your craziness and failures and everything.
Yeah.
You talked about the love that you get from your followers, but how about the hate? How do you deal with? I know that you have this special. I watched it several times. Yeah. How do you cope with everything so that it doesn't make you want to stop and just go away into the mountains?
So I thought of this, visual a few years ago, and it's really helped me. And basically, the way I picture when someone's hating on me and throwing judgment on me, I picture them basically handing me their suitcase. Because we're all, and I write about this in the book, we're all carrying around a lot of suitcases. We have our suitcase of insecurities, we have our work issues, we have marriage, we have children, we have our, parents from our childhood and stuff we experience. We're all carrying around suitcases. And when somebody is coming and deciding to hate and judge you, whether it's online, whether it's somebody in your personal life, what they're basically saying is, here is my suitcase of things that I'm unhappy about, my life choices, my life experiences, and I'm going to hand it to you. Because they think that it's like a ball they can throw at you, and then they can get rid of it. It's a ball of pain they're trying to throw at somebody else. But it doesn't work that way, right? Because when you try to throw that ball, you're just going to get a lot back. Because I always say, you're never going to be a happy person if you're an unkind person. You just won't. And so I always picture it that way. And instead of taking it personally, I think, okay, this is their suitcase of their insecurities, and they're handing it to me. I used to pick it up. I used to carry everybody's suitcase. I'm not picking it up. I hope they find a good friend or a therapist that they can deal with, but that is not my suitcase. I'm not picking it up.
That's a very useful metaphor. Thank you for that.
Yeah. But also, I want to say one more thing.
Yes.
So I think, and I think people that don't make videos on social media can relate to this too. Just like I don't base my self-esteem on the hateful comments, I don't base my self-esteem on the love and adoration, right? Because it can go either way, and you can either start hating yourself, or you can start thinking that you're better than everybody else. So I really don't take either so personally that I let it affect my self-esteem or my self-worth. If I have been kind and brave in my life and authentic, that's when I feel good about myself, not based on other people's hate or praise.
But how did you get to be so confident and know your self-worth? Were you raised, were your parents the ones that planted that in you? Did they saw you always as a valuable person? Did they praise you? Did they love you no matter what you did? Because we have an issue here, and I have an issue. It's so difficult for me to accept praise. Whenever someone comes and say, look, you've done a lot for me, and I'm like, come on. But when somebody comes and says, you're stupid, you look like shit, and you talk all, and I'm like, oh, you may be right. And that's because I don't know what I'm worth, and I always rely on other people's opinion, and that's totally wrong. And it's a process, and maybe I will get there before I die. But for me and for a lot of people here, it's difficult because we didn't receive that as a child. So I was curious, how was it for you?
I grew up very insecure, very insecure. And I write in the book how I was always told, you're too loud, you talk too much, you're too hyper, no one will take you seriously, you turn everything into a joke, oh, you cry too much, you know, when you're sad. I mean, I always felt like I was too much. And I write in the book how sometimes when you're told you're too much, you end up feeling like you're not enough. So for me, it took a lot of work, and it took, you know, just sort of reframing the way I see my life. You know, instead of seeing those times when I was struggling financially and couldn't pay the bills as, wow, I was a loser, I went, no, I was amazing. I was depressed and I still got up and I still fed my kids. You know, it's all about, there's the quote that everybody's now, you know, sharing that's in the book, and I've also said in a few videos, give yourself more credit than criticism and more grace than judgment. And sometimes you won't have other people in your life who will do it for you. So you have to do it for you. And just lots of little practices I started doing for myself to gain my confidence. At the end of a long day, I used to have a habit. I would lay in bed and I would just think about all the things I did wrong that day and all the things I could have handled better and all the things I planned on doing but didn't have time to do, just all the negative stuff. And then I said, no more. And I would lay down in bed and I said, I'm going to list all the things I did right today, even if they're little. I'm going to list all the things I did today. And when you start doing that regularly as a practice, you really start rewiring the way your brain works. So it's a lot of little things that take a lot of time and work, but they're worth it.
Kind of related to what you said right now, I was curious because I didn't find that in the book. Did you, after the divorce or recently, go to any form of therapy or like self-knowledge process besides everything you do in your home and in your work? Did you seek professional counseling and help?
Yes.
I have a question here.
So I write about it, just one little story in the book of how my therapist helped me reframe the way I was thinking. You know, I said, oh, I'm a horrible mom, and he ended up turning everything bad I said about myself into a positive. And I made a video about that too. So I got therapy then. I started joining parenting and support groups that I found for free. I've been in therapy since then, off and on. Right now, I'm actually in therapy with my teenagers. So I am a big fan of therapy and also support groups. Therapy, because even if you've had the most beautiful, wonderful, perfect, which doesn't exist, childhood, we all have our stuff. We all have stuff. And I just believe, just like we check physically, are we okay? We go to the doctor, we go to the dentist. Why not make sure that our mind and our soul is in the right place? I feel like everybody benefits from therapy. And support groups, I'm a big fan of, is because when you're really struggling, we tend to feel alone in it. Nobody would understand. Nobody would understand how low I feel. Nobody would understand how much this thing that happened hurts. And all of a sudden you're sitting in a support group and you're hearing other people and you're going, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Just that feeling is healing, because I don't believe that healing happens in isolation. I think we need a community in order to heal.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. And while we were talking about therapy, I just remembered that I have this question for you that I got from a reader, and she wants to know, how much do you spend on wine every month?
Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed to say this, but because of what I do, I have so many companies now that send me wine, or like fans that will send me wine. So not as much as I used to, thanks to you guys.
I'm not doing something right. I get lots of nappies and like t-shirts, but no wine. I mean, hello people, send wine.
Send her wine. Yeah. Everybody watching, send her wine.
Like, if you have the money or if you have a winery, then you can send me some wine.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the craziest message you received online? The craziest of all.
Oh my gosh. Well, can we get, like, how personal can we get?
As personal as you want. It's so, just 1,200 people watching. So
there was a woman that asked me if I could talk to her husband about how much he masturbates because it bothered her. And she wanted me a complete stranger to talk to her husband. I was like,
why not? I mean,
you know what? I don't plan on making that phone call. Nope.
sorry, but not today. It's not
that was a little weird.
I do get lots of messages that people asking me to write stuff for them. Like, can you write me an ad to hire a nanny for my kid? Can you write a letter for my child's teacher because I want her to act differently and I don't know how. But like to talk to masturbating husbands, not yet. So
yeah.
Hats off to you. Oh, it's a crazy world.
I also, this wasn't a request message, but this is one of the funniest comments. This one woman went on, I mean, every platform I had. She went on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. And she posted the same long comment and she said, Kristina, you say you're honest and you say you talk about the truth, but you're lying to everybody because you're not telling them that you were born a man. And it's obvious by your jawline. And you need to tell the truth. And I went into the mirror and I was like, my jaw, what? So she just wanted everybody to know the truth that I was born male. I thought that was so funny.
Oh my God. Come on, you can admit it now. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being born a male and then becoming famous as a mother. I mean, what's the problem?
I had a manly jawline.
Oh my God, it's a circus out there, right? I don't want to jump from a subject to another one, but I have a choice, so let's make it a circus as well here.
Yeah.
So this is a topic that usually comes up in my conversations with women, with mothers mostly. We have lots of toxic relationships in our lives, sometimes with our parents, sometimes with our partners, and we have kids together. It's difficult to break up, or with a boss maybe, or with a girlfriend that is abusive, but we kind of are addicted to her presence. How would you deal, if you haven't already, with such a complicated issue? Because we need relationships. This is how we exist. And sometimes we don't know what's going on there, but we feel bad. Maybe we want to escape, but we don't know how, and we always come back. And I'm not only talking about abusive marriages, but all kinds of toxic relationships that poison our lives. So if it was for me, I would just cut everything.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy.
So yeah, I would say if it's a toxic relationship and you can cut it out, then you need to. I've often told people, you're allowed to break up with a friend or a family member the same way you would break up with the abusive boyfriend. You're allowed to do that. In fact, I had once, years ago, I had a conversation with a friend, female friend, where I met up with her and I said, I'm breaking up with you. And here is why. And she was like, you're breaking up with me. This isn't a relationship. I said, yes, it's not a romantic relationship, but it is a relationship. And I have to break up with you because of the way you've treated me. So I know that that's uncomfortable and hard, but sometimes you have to do it. If you can't do it, then you have to learn two things. One is, it's probably not personal. Toxic people can only have toxic relationships, right? So if you have a friend, a relative, whoever was toxic, you're never going to have a healthy relationship. They're toxic. They can't have anything but a toxic relationship. It's not about you, so don't take it personally. And also, you have to know that you will never change them. You can't change them. They can change them. You can't change them. So I think one of the frustrations that happens for us is that if we're in this relationship, we're constantly trying, if I say it this way, if I do this, if I write this letter, if I try to explain this, maybe they'll change. You can't change them. You don't have that power. So I would say distance yourself as much as you can, at least emotionally. And then I've always told, I have followers who always tell me, oh, my mother-in-law, that's a lot of time. Thankfully, I have a really good mother-in-law. But a lot of times people say, my mother-in-law is constantly telling me how to live, telling me this and that. Just have that emotional separation. Even if it's not physical separation, for you, know that there's a line, there's a wall, and you're not going to let them get through that wall. You have to protect yourself. And then also, instead of arguing constantly back and forth, just an example, if it's your mother-in-law and she's saying, you need to do this, instead of arguing, just say, you know what? I'm going to give that some thought. And then don't. But at least they feel acknowledged and then it ends. It's not a back and forth argument. It's just, I'm gonna consider that, and then don't do it your way, because I'm sure you're smart enough to do it your way. But I do feel like you have to learn to create a little bit of a distance and not take it personally. A toxic person is going to create a toxic relationship.
Well, it takes a bit of presence to acknowledge that and to act like. But yeah, I agree with you. We shouldn't stay there.
And the problem is, we all have insecurities. Every person has, even that person that you think is so confident. Everybody has insecurities. And what happens is, because we're already insecure, somebody in our inner circle is throwing negativity or judgment or whatever. We tend to believe it. We believe it because we already have insecurities. And so you just have to, again, don't pick up their suitcase. Don't pick up their suitcase.
That's very good advice. Thank you. Talking about wine and masturbation and you being a man, we succeeded in ignoring the topic of the day, which is the coronavirus. So people are asking, how are you dealing with everything? I don't know. I know that things aren't good with you. It's bad here also. It's crazy. We try to get by, but schools are closed and everything is. We are probably going back to the lockdown soon because the numbers are very high. How was this whole period for you and your family?
You know, it was such a roller coaster. I'm sure everybody can relate, where you're like, this is horrible, and you just feel down, and then suddenly you have a few days where you're like, I'm gonna make the best of it. We're gonna be okay. And then again, like, I just feel like it's like that. And I feel like it's like that for everybody. You can't, as much as I try to stay as positive as I can, of course I'm gonna have days where I'm like, this sucks, this is horrible, I don't want this anymore. So one is, I've given myself complete permission to feel whatever I feel and not try to suppress it. And if I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. But also there's so much in my book that I wrote before Corona that relates now. And just that constant reminder that it's right now. So there's this tip I wrote in the book, and I actually made a video about it too, where one of the ways I was trying to, stay hopeful when I was struggling is I would add right now to the end of any sentence that was worrisome. This divorce is so painful right now. I am struggling financially right now. My teenager hates me right now. And by adding that, you're constantly reminding yourself, this is not forever. This is not permanent. So during these times, I keep doing that. I'm like, okay, we are on lockdown right now. It'll pass. I can't hang out with my friends or go to wherever I wanted to go right now. So just that constant reminder, this is not the rest of our lives. Because sometimes we're in the midst of struggle, it feels permanent. It feels like it will never end. And I think we need to keep reminding ourselves, this is incredibly annoying and stressful and exhausting, but it is not permanent.
Mm-hmm. This too shall pass. This is my motto with the kids and with everything. This too shall pass.
And also stop, not just during COVID, but in general, stop comparing to what everybody else is doing. Because what happens is we go on social media and we see that mom that every day is making new crafts with their kids, and she picked up a new hobby and learned how to knit and paint and whatever during COVID. And we're sitting there in our pajamas, exhausted, going, huh? Oh, I'm a loser because they're doing all that cool stuff and I'm not. No, do not compare. You do the best you can with what you have. And also, your best will not look the same every day. Someday, your best might be getting dressed and making a beautiful meal and playing games with your kids. And another day, your best might be staying in pajamas all day and just serving a bowl of cereal for dinner. That's fine. Take care of your sanity. Do not compare, because that person on social media that seems to be doing everything great, they are struggling too. They might not be honest about it, but they are struggling too.
Yeah, that's something else that they're not doing good, and maybe you are doing well, whatever they're not. Yeah. I'm with you on this. What is your secret garden? What do you do when you are alone and the day is finished and the kids are okay in their beds and you have time for yourself? What's there?
I love sleep so much. I love sleep. Like I'm actually turned on right now. I love just talking about it. I just, even if I'm not asleep, like just my body laying down is the most beautiful, wonderful feeling ever. But I also really rely on my friends. So a lot of times when everybody's in bed, you know, now during COVID, we can't really hang out, but I'll just call a friend and just vent and laugh. I crave, you know, support just like everybody else does. I'm so excited. I can't wait to have a copy in my hands.
I know that they sent it to you last week, so it's probably on its way. It should be there in a few days. So people, we have Kristina's book in Romanian, and it's the first foreign edition of her book. So I'm very proud of myself that I was so fast and got it and put it in translation, and now we have it. So you can order it and you can have it in a few days. You talk a lot about your divorce in the book, and it's so comforting to see you doing so well after such a difficult experience, and you have a great relationship with your mother-in-law, with the new one, and with the ex-husband who was part of your life. So I encourage people to read about that in your book, because it's so rarely that someone talks so frankly, and actually you do have kind words to say about everyone that was in your life, and now you've gone separate ways, and I appreciate that, because usually that's a lot of friction. And you've tried to do this for your kids, but also for yourself, I think. So did you turn to your friends, to your family? I've read the book and I know, but for the people who haven't, how did you deal with needing a connection but not being able to have that, since you were alone with the kids and working, and I know that you struggled a lot.
Yeah, and to be honest, like all the stuff you said about having a good relationship with my ex, all that stuff took time. I mean, none of it happens overnight. I don't know if I wrote it in the book or not, but you know, after I got a divorce and you know, we were both so bitter, we couldn't even talk to each other. I mean, it was just very, very ugly. And then I decided that I didn't want my kids to grow up with so much drama. So I decided to invite him over for dinner. And I thought, he can just come over for dinner. We don't have to talk about our divorce or marriage or anything. It's just the kids will have us together. And he said no. He thought I was crazy. Why would he have dinner with me? And then I invited him again a couple weeks later again. And I think I invited him about 17 times before he said yes. So I'm saying that to say it's not easy, and it's not, you know, just like, oh, we're just best friends. It takes so much work. And there's a whole chapter in my book about putting your kids first and your ego last, and how to try to build something. And obviously that doesn't work if, you know, your ex is dangerous in some way, but in a lot of families it can work. It just takes so much work, and it's still work for me. I've now been divorced for 14 years and it's still work. But I do believe that I don't know that I could have gotten through what I went through without the people in my life. And there were people that turned their back on me. There were people that betrayed me during that time when I was going through a divorce. There were people that took sides. There were people that judged me. And I'm glad that I didn't give those people as much energy as the people who were trying to support me and hold me up. And I think that's a human mistake that we often make, is where we give the energy to the negative people in our life and we completely ignore the love and support we're getting.
You are so right, and we need to talk about that more.
Yeah, I think about how often, well, so I made a video, I don't know if you saw it, with M&Ms, and I have these two jars, they're empty glass jars, and I'm standing in between them, and you hear compliments. You're strong, you're really good at this, and the M&Ms keep getting filled, and this one jar is full of these compliments, and then one voice says, you're not good enough, and one single M&M goes into this big jar, and I knock over the big jar full of M&Ms, and I grab the other one that has one M&M in it, and I hold it close to my heart and I walk away. Every human I've ever met does this. We tend to give all our energy and all our attention. We hold close to the negativity we're getting, and we completely shove and ignore and break the positivity. And it's something we just have to retrain our brain to do. Focus on the positive. Focus on the people who are there to support you instead of the people that are there to tear you down. And those who are trying to tear you down, remember, they're tearing you down. That has more to do with them and their issues than it actually has to do with you. It's probably not even personal.
Mm-hmm. You are so right, and I'm gonna remember M&Ms every time somebody tells me I'm ugly on the internet. I'm just gonna think of you.
Crazy, because you're literally one of the most beautiful women. It's crazy. But I remember, so I didn't write specifically about this person in my book, but there was one person when I got a divorce who was so angry. She was just, I mean, she took it personally as if I was divorcing her. She was angry. She said I had no morals and values. I was ruining my children. You know, how dare you have your children grow up in a divorce home? You're a horrible mother. Just so much hatred at me. And it was devastating to me because this is someone I really cared about and loved. And I found out later that that same woman was so miserable in her marriage, so miserable and torn down, that she took me leaving almost as a personal attack of like, I don't, you know, her feeling that she doesn't have the guts to leave. How dare you leave? I'm not making the decision. How dare you be free now of a bad relationship? I can't be. So again, it had nothing to do with me. All her anger, everything came from her own pain that she was experiencing. So just keep that in mind when somebody is judging you and hating on you. It is coming from a place of their own pain. That's where it's coming from.
I know all of this, but sometimes it just helps me with nothing that I know all of this, because I'm human and I slip down the road that I know, because this is how the brain works and it needs rewiring. And sometimes this is hard work and I don't have the energy to do that also. And and it's not okay.
I write in my book how what's familiar becomes comfortable. So, you know, you hear about kids who grow up with an alcoholic father and they end up marrying an alcoholic. And people are like, why would you make that decision? It's not even conscious, but subconsciously, what's familiar, it's comfortable, even if it's not healthy, right? So we have created, it's familiar to us, to the negativity, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we put ourselves down. It's familiar, so it becomes comfortable. It's what is known to us. We know it and it feels like home to us, even if it's completely bad, right? So that's where we have to start, you know, practicing the new thing so that the new, better thing becomes comfortable and feel like home. And that's why in my videos, like the M&M video, I could have easily just said all that. But the reason I do these visuals is because I hope that when somebody's struggling, it's the picture that'll pop in their head. They might not hear a single speech I said or a paragraph I wrote in my book, but if they can have that visual of me walking away with that one M&M and say, no, I'm going to pick up these M&Ms, then maybe that's helpful. That's why I try to do things in a very, you know, again, visual, creative way.
It works. Yeah, I think it works. Yes, it's an amazing idea. And I was just thinking while I was listening to you that you've come such a long way. And actually, you do write about this in your book, that for a while you were poor. You had nothing. You were living with your kids. You had a bad job. You were a waitress, and you were living on coupons. So the state was trying, right? It's like state help for people in difficult times. And a friend of yours she was working in Starbucks, and she would give you the products that weren't sold, and instead of throwing them, she would give them to you, and you would give them to the kids who were very young, 2 or 3. But now today you are here, and you've done that with just by yourself, with your strength and with your amazing mind and with your willing to help others, because this is how you started, right? You wanted to get yourself up by helping others, and this is something counterintuitive, because when you're down you try to put yourself up first, but you did that doing stuff for others. And that's like, it's an amazing lesson for me, and I think for everyone else, that sometimes you just need to step out of your victim role and just try to get another different perspective.
Yeah, because I really believe that doing for others, it's like line, right? If we do for others, suddenly we feel good. We feel like those are the things that create confidence, because you start going, wow, I can make a difference. I helped somebody. And now that confidence can translate into, well, what else can I do? And, slowly you build success, but it comes from, a lot of times we think the way I'm going to feel confident is if I look better, or if I have better clothes, or I have whatever. No, the way you're going to feel confident is by making yourself feel proud. And the way you're going to feel proud is the way you're treating everybody around you and yourself. So build that confidence, and then that can grow into success in various ways, not just career, but just the way you see the world, the way you treat your family.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier, you cannot be happy if you are not kind. This is something that stuck with me. It's so true. Thank you for that. We have another question. How do you handle everything? You have 3 kids, 2 of them are teenagers, and the third one is
6 years old.
6. Okay. And you also work a lot. You do a lot of press. Do you iron clothes? Do you wash dishes? You cook, of course.
I'm wearing wrinkled pajamas right now because I have no clean pants. Are you kidding me? I changed my top for you, but I didn't change the PJ pants.
Nobody. I'm in my running.
Nice.
Trousers, so it's
nice. So it's interesting because years ago I would get asked all the time how I balance everything, family and work and everything. So I asked my husband. I said, "Do you ever get asked how you balance everything?" And he was like, "What?" And I started asking other guy friends, "Hey, do you ever get asked how you balance being a dad and working?" And they're like, "No." And I realized that women get asked this, and just realizing that gave me permission to go, I don't have to do everything perfectly. Like, men don't get expected to do everything perfect. Why are we the only ones getting asked this? So what I've done is I don't think of it as balancing. I think of it as just making a choice for that moment. Right now, I'm going to choose to do this. Right now, I'm going to, and so I say no to a lot of things. I say no to a lot of work opportunities because my family comes first. And then sometimes I have to miss out on something, with the kids because there's a big opportunity to do something with work. And most importantly, not feeling guilty, right? Because all humans, but again, women have more pressure, have to sort of make these trade-offs, and then you feel guilty, like, oh, I didn't spend enough time with my kids, or, oh, I didn't spend enough time on that work project. Just removing that guilt and realizing I'm not meant to be perfect. I'm not a robot that can handle 700 things all in 1 hour. I am a human being. And more important than any of it is that I stay sane. Because if I lose my freaking mind, my kids will suffer because they'll have a mom who completely lost her mind. And my work will suffer because I won't be effective if I lose my freaking mind. So just removing that guilt and going, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to be late to things. It's not all going to be perfect. And that's okay. Because my expectation of myself is to be a flawed human, not perfect.
How do you get so smart and present and clear about everything? Really.
Well, again, this isn't like, I haven't mastered all of this. I am still a work in progress. But the difference is where I used to say, oh, I just feel guilty and I'm not good enough. Now, if I start feeling those feelings, again, I'll start going, are you kidding me? Like, I'll talk to myself like a crazy lady. I'm like, are you kidding me, Kristina? Look at all the things you did. And at the end of the day, if my kids have been loved and fed, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. I deserve stickers and a tiara because life is freaking hard. So if I was present for my kids, if they know every day that they are loved, and if I can handle my work, even if it's not perfect, I got nothing to feel guilty about.
It's kind of what the next question was about, and I will extrapolate it a bit. So, what do you fear? And when you feel insecure, what is it about? I know now that it's not about you not being perfect, because it's obvious that you are not going there. But are you a control freak? Do you fear diseases or death, or I don't know? And how are you handling this?
My biggest fears always come from fearing that something will happen to my children. My grandmother lost 4 of her 6 kids. And I was very close with my grandmother. And one of her kids died when he was 5. And I remember with each of my children, when they turned 5, it was like that story was just so clear in my mind. And I think parents that's normal for us to worry. Now my kids are older. Now I worry about, as teenagers and going out in the world and all the stuff that can happen. So it's always a fear of just making sure that my kids are okay. And there's not really, I don't think there's a way to erase that. I think with love comes some fear, right? We love them so much. We're going to be nervous. I think what I try to do is just not let it paralyze me, where that's where all my energy goes. I used to parent out of fear. And I think that's not a good thing, where everything was about, oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And now I try to play it through and I go, okay, if this happens, what is the worst outcome? But there's also best outcome. So why am I only focused on the worst outcome? And just sort of letting myself play it through and realizing that there's only so much I can control. So the things I can control, I don't want to live in the fear. I want to enjoy my time. I want to enjoy my life. And if I'm constantly consumed with just fear, I'm not going to be able to enjoy any of it. But that's I don't know any parent that doesn't have those fears. I think we have to accept that is going to exist, but don't let it consume you.
Yep. Amazing love and tremendous fear, just like this, inseparable. You cannot. Yeah. I feel that every second with my kids. Ioana wants to know, what do you read? And if you have any recommendations on self-development books, or just books that you like.
So some of you, if you've been following me for a while, might know about my friend Zach Anner. He has cerebral palsy. He's in a wheelchair. He's had a really interesting life, a lot of challenges. He is, really, he's more than a friend to me. He's like a brother to me. And I've learned so much from him. His book is called If at Birth You Don't Succeed. Zach Anner is his name. Anner is the last name. It's an amazing book, especially if you have a physical disability or you have a child with a physical disability. Definitely read it. But even if you don't, and I don't, you will get so much out of it. His perspective on life and his honesty is amazing. So that's a book I would definitely recommend.
Okay. I will search for the link and post it in the comments so that people can find it.
And if you do have a child with a disability and you're struggling with, that whole balance of helping them, but also raising them to be independent, look up my videos with them. They're on my Facebook page and YouTube. If you just search my name along with his, Zach, Z-A-C-H, Anner, you'll find them.
Okay, great. The husband question. It always comes up in my interviews. So do you have time for your husband?
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. So I talked about this before. We have an incredibly loving and completely imperfect marriage. And we are doing great sometimes, and we try really hard to go on a date, and we used to go on a date once every week. That hasn't happened in a long time, but we really try to find those times to just connect. And then there are weeks or months where I feel like I'm living with a stranger because life is crazy. And so, we do the best we can, but I will never pretend that things are always just, yay, awesome, lovely, because that's not any marriage. And if any of your friends are telling you that, they've either been married for 1 minute or they're lying. Because if you have children and careers, there's going to be times where you're going to feel like, I can't find time. How do I make this work? So we do the best we can. We just went on a date last weekend and it felt so good. We try to have a rule where if we're out on a date, we're not allowed to talk about the kids, because otherwise that's all we talk about, and then we're not connecting. And eventually the kids will grow up and move out, and I don't want to look at them and be like, who are you? Because all I've known you is the dad. I want to know you as my husband. So if you have that time alone, try to make a rule where you're not allowed to talk about the kids, which is hard, really hard.
It's impossible. I don't know.
I keep going, oh, I have to tell you something, Ari. Nope. I'll tell you after the date.
But okay, you were basically a single mother for a period of your life. There are lots of single mothers out there. There are also mothers who have husbands, but they're not very much around. So what would you say for them?
It's to women who are basically handling it mostly on their own. You need to take the pressure again of being perfect, or I think a lot of times we before we have kids, we create this fantasy of what we think everything's going to look like. You know, even with marriage, this is what marriage is going to look like. Or once I have kids, this is what it's going to look like. And then what happens is we end up spending the rest of our lives chasing that, because that's how we envisioned it. And why isn't it like that? And now I feel like I'm a loser because it's not like that. And we just have to recognize that that fantasy is a fantasy. It's not realistic. So do the best you can with what you have. I think single moms are absolute heroes. I wish I had known. Like now I look back on myself as a single mom and I'm like, man, she's awesome. Like that girl, she did so much. But in the moment, I can't recognize it. So just take the expectations off of what you thought it would all look like. Take the pressures off of having to do everything right. And at the end of the day, the most important thing your kids need is a loving, caring, devoted parent. And if you're giving them that, if you are a loving, caring, devoted parent, it doesn't matter if their socks don't match, or there's dirty laundry that hasn't been done in 5 days, or there's dishes in the sink, or you missed some appointment. It's at the end of the day, 20 years from now, you're not even going to remember that. Your kids aren't going to remember that. What they're going to remember is that they had a loving mom. So make that your priority. And if the house looks like a tornado hit it, again, 20 years from now, no one's going to remember that.
I agree. Thank you for your wise.
And by the way, if you have someone in your life, maybe it's your mother-in-law or somebody who comes over to your house and your house is a mess and they complain about it or they judge you, don't feel bad. You know what you should do? Show them where the vacuum is and the cleaning supplies and say, you know what, since it bothers you so much, you can take care of it. I'm going to go take a nap.
Oh, but what will the world say? You're such a bad daughter.
Who cares?
I know we have that thing here. I don't know how it is in Croatia, but in Romania, the world's mouth is like worse than God. I mean, if the world's mouth says anything, or you have to be very careful with it.
And you know what? All those people are miserable, because again, you're never going to be genuinely happy if you are that judgmental. If you're that judgmental, you cannot be genuinely happy. So if you just see all those people as miserable and you go, you know what? I don't want to be that miserable. I'm going to be happy. And what makes me happy right now is taking care of me in this moment, or playing with my kids instead of just, being a slave in my house. Take care of you. Always put your sanity and your children's needs before anybody's judgments and opinions. Always.
I'm with you. I wanted to look at Carmen Scarlett. She's the translator of your book in Romanian, and she's also here. Hi. Thank you, Carmen, very much for your great work and your really fast work.
And I also want to say, I love the painting you guys did. I forgot the artist's name.
Roxana Soare. It's Roxana Soare.
It's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, she's a great artist, and we have her help with all we have a collection that it's called Gentle Education, and we only bring in parenting books that are about positive education, and she's done the covers for all of them, and we are very happy with it. So I'm glad you accept, because I know you have a different color, a different cover in your original book.
Yeah.
And but I'm very happy you agreed, and this is how I'm going to show the book again.
Yeah, no, she did such a great job.
She's amazing. Thank you, Roxana and Carmen. And thank you all for staying with us so late. I don't want to keep you anymore, Kristina. I'm sorry for all the, it's probably something I did wrong. I don't know what, but it's good that we finally got with everybody together, and people are so loving and they send you all their appreciation. Maybe you have time after we end this to take a look on the comments. Lots of love. It's a great party here, and I want to thank you, everybody, for being so nice to us. You are amazing, and this is why we are here every day, basically.
Next time I go to Croatia, I need to figure out if I can take a little trip to Romania. Maybe we can have some kind of an event.
I was going to ask you that. We can rent a stadium and bring lots of wine.
I'm not that famous. I'm not Beyonce. I'm not Madonna.
Just you and me together, we can make something interesting here. So yes, I will keep writing to you now that I have your email. And if you come in the area, it will be amazing for us to welcome you here and show you some of the beautiful parts of Romania, because it's actually pretty nice. Even if we aren't a happy people. Because we've had such a rough time with communism, and we are still struggling, but it's a beautiful place. And I think the generations that are coming right now, growing up, they will change things. So I have to hope that for my kids. I know that you understand and you can relate.
Yes.
Even though for you it was worse with the war, and I can't even imagine.
Well, I would love to visit. I think it would be really fun.
We'll keep in touch. I promise. I will keep writing you every now and then. So thank you again. Sorry. It's been a long day. It's almost midnight here. So.
Oh my gosh. Thank you all for staying up so late for me.
Yeah, everybody says that it was amazing for them. So thank you again. Maybe, I don't know, if you write the second book and we'll get it and we can do that again and see how things are, I don't know, moving and changing for each of us. I hope that you get through this difficult period healthy, and maybe we'll meet, like you said. Thank you for your time and for everything you said. I mean, for me, it was very useful, and I appreciate everything you do. We'll keep on following you, and I will write you about how the book is going. I have no fear that it will be a bestseller here. I was wondering, what are the numbers for a bestseller in America? So you are a bestseller when you sell, like, how many?
I was wondering that too, but apparently it's not the same. It depends on what other books are out. So it changes depending on, how other books are doing. It's almost like a competitive thing. So yeah, there's not one number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here the people don't really read that much. So if a book sells like 2,000 copies, then it's a bestseller. And I think you will reach that target by next month. So.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
Thank you for your book and for your videos and for everything, your kindness and your advice. And hopefully we'll see each other again. Like, I don't know when, but when we are still alive.
Yes.
And beautiful.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody that stayed up late watching. I appreciate it.
Bye, guys. See you next time. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.